Have all the parties here for that matter?
Do not, Judge. This is Ms. Pensabenny's case. I believe she did file a sentencing memorandum. She is in North Las Vegas. She's asked me to trail this for her presence. She doesn't have any prelims going, but she did specifically ask me yesterday to trail this so she could personally argue the matter.
Did she tell you?
All right, we will trail page 14. Let me know when you are ready to proceed.
Renegotiating it, so we need to pass it a week anyway.
Oh. May we approach, Judge?
Yes, you may. All right, so we need to continue, or just pass page 14 until Ms. Pensabenny gets here, and then we'll decide what we need to do to go forward.
Thanks.
All right? All right. So let's call page 6, State versus Cesar Valencia. Weller, C317477. Good morning, Mr. Queller. So I understand that the state and the public defender need to amend the charge. Is that correct?
Yes, correct. So we basically have to re-canvass him under a new guilty plea agreement. However, the parties are stipulating that the court may rely on the Alford facts that were set forth by the state of Nevada on September 9th of 2016, if that's acceptable to the court.
All right, and this is no longer going to be an Alford plea, is that correct?
It is an Alford plea, but we're stipulating that you're going to rely on the Alford facts that were
Oh, I
laid
see.
out by the state on September 9th.
All right. And you will prepare an amended GPA? I have an amended indictment. Does someone have an amended GPA? Yes.
Would you like me to give it to your clerk?
Yeah, give it to the clerk. All right, so let me go ahead and recanvass Mr. Queller. Mr. Queller, I need to ask you some questions, all right, sir?
Yeah, sure.
All right, what is your full name, sir?
Bryce Matthew Quayle,
Mr. Quaylar, how old are you, sir?
24.
How far did you go in school?
Got my GED.
All right, do you read, write, and understand the English language?
Yes.
Have you discussed your case with your attorney, Ms. Pensabenny, who's now standing next to you?
Yes.
All right, it's my understanding that you wish to plead guilty pursuant to Alford to a new charge, and this type of plea is officially known as a no contest plea. And with a no contest plea, you may maintain your innocence, but you authorize the court to treat you as if you are guilty. Do you understand that if you make a no contest plea or an Alford plea, the court will treat you as if you are guilty for the crime to which you plead?
Yes.
All right, sir. Have you received a copy of the amended indictment charging you with attempt to make threats or convey false information concerning acts of terrorism?
I have.
All right, and have you had a chance to confer with your counsel about that? About those charges? Do you understand, sir, that if you plead guilty pursuant to Alford to those charges, the court must sentence you to a minimum of not less than 1 year in prison and not more than 10 years in prison, with the minimum term of imprisonment not exceeding 40% of the maximum. Do you understand that, sir? It says, or it should be 2 to 10, right?
That was a maximum of 48.
I'm sorry, no, it should be 1 to 10.
No,
It does say 1 to 10 here.
drops it to a 1 to 10.
The original charge would have been 2 to 10, is that correct?
The original charge would have been 2 to 20.
And
2
An
to, 2 to
attempt.
20.
An attempt by NRS, I believe, knocks it down to a 1 to 10.
and we might have to go back to the drawing board because the party's understanding was a 1 to 6 with a cap at 48 months.
All right, well, the guilty plea agreement that you had the defendant signed
Right.
says something different.
Right.
And so you need to go back to the drawing board.
And can we set this over to Thursday, Your Honor?
We could do that. We could postpone it to
I need to s-
Thursday.
I need to speak
Mr.
with
Queller,
Mr.
what is
Bickerson.
happening here is there is a clerical error in your guilty plea agreement. And the parties need to prepare a new guilty plea agreement which accurately reflects the negotiations of the parties. And have you review it, discuss it with your counsel, and then sign the corrected guilty plea agreement so we make sure that you are consenting to the correct deal. Do you understand that, sir? All right. Sorry that it can't proceed today, but we need to make sure that the paperwork is accurate.
A 1 to 6, the only way you can do that is to completely come up with an entirely different crime.
Do you guys wish to, we can come back this afternoon if you want to get this done this afternoon.
I don't know if it's something possible to get done this afternoon. Mr. Dickerson, this is his case, and he's actually in a jury trial right now, which is why I'm standing in.
Can you try? And maybe we can come back at 2? Is that, do you want to call? I mean, I'll make court staff
can we rush?
available. Yes. All right. All right, Ms. Pennsylvania's going to confer with her client momentarily. Yes, you may.
The guilty plea agreement. At this point, he's comfortable moving forward with the new guilty plea agreement where the parties agreed to a cap at 48 months. He will be pleading guilty to, he'll be pleading pursuant to Alford to attempt making threats or conveying false information, and that is a minimum of 1, a maximum of 10, and the parties stipulate to, or agreed not to argue for anything more than 48 months.
All right, so then we'll finish the Alford canvas, and then it's your understanding that we'll continue the sentencing to Thursday?
Yes.
All right, let's go ahead and proceed with where we are. So, now that we got that discrepancy completed, Mr. Queller, let me continue, all right? So what we have here is we have an amended indictment, which charges you with attempt to make threats or convey false information concerning acts of terrorism. That's a Category B felony, sir. Do you understand that if you plead guilty to that charge pursuant to Alford, the court must sentence you to a minimum of not less than 1 term and a maximum of not more than, minimum of not less than 1 year and a maximum of not more than 10 years. You understand that, sir? All right, that's the range. All right. And you also understand, sir, that any agreement that you reach with the state is between you and the state and is not binding on the court. You understand that? All right, whether the court is inclined to grant you probation, leniency, or whatever sentence the court is going to grant, that's strictly up to the court. You understand that? And so nobody can promise you leniency, special treatment, or probation. You understand that? You understand that? All right. Do you have any questions for the court?
I do not.
All right, then how do you plead to the charge against you of attempt to make threats or convey false information concerning acts of terrorism? All right, defendant pleads guilty pursuant to Alford. I have your guilty plea agreement in front of me, sir, and on page 6 of this guilty plea agreement, there is your typed name above that as signature. Is this in fact your signature, sir, on the guilty plea agreement?
Yes.
All right, did you sign this document freely and voluntarily?
Yes.
Did your attorney answer any questions you had about this agreement?
Yes.
All right, do you believe that this is the right thing for you to do?
Yes.
All right, did anybody force you to sign?
No.
All right, do you understand that by pleading guilty, you're giving up the various constitutional rights that are listed in this agreement?
Yes.
Do you also understand, sir, that if you are not a United States citizen, you may be deported based upon this guilty plea agreement?
I understand.
All right, and pursuant to stipulation of the parties waive the reading of the indictment and incorporate by reference the facts that were stipulated on the record at the time of the original Alford plea. Is that correct?
That's the state stipulation, yes, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, very good. Any questions for the court at this time?
Even if I sign you're saying you can still give him past 4 years, am I correct?
Legally speaking, I can, sir. But you've reached an agreement with the state whereby the state agrees to cap the amount that they're seeking at 48 months. All right? And the court's
That's not guaranteed.
not guaranteed, the court's not inclined to go beyond anything that the state's going to ask for. All right? All right. So the court finds that your plea is freely and voluntarily given and that the defendant understands the nature of the charges against him and the consequences of his plea. Accordingly, the court enters the plea of guilty pursuant to Alford to the charge of attempt to make threats or convey false information concerning acts of terrorism. Counsel, it's my understanding that you are going to request that the court put on the record amendments to the pre-sentence investigation report at the continuing hearing in this matter.
Yes.
But it is the parties' joint request that we continue the sentencing in this matter to this Thursday. Is that correct?
That's correct.
That's correct.
All right, that will be the order of the court. We'll be back here on Thursday to wrap this up.
And Your Honor, did you receive our sentencing memorandum?
I received the sentencing memorandum. I also received over 100 letters from various individuals around the world on this matter, and I've read each and every one of them.
And Your Honor, I just want to note for the record that there are individuals in the courtroom in support of Mr. Cuellar. They are seated in the front row. If you can just raise your hands, everyone that's here for Bryce. They may or may not be able to come back on Thursday.
All right, well, we always appreciate having visitors and speakers, and appreciate your attention to this matter, and if you could be here, that would be welcome. All right?
Thank you, Judge.
If not, I understand. Anything else, counsel?
No, thank you.
All right, then we'll go ahead to the next matter. We'll see you back on Thursday. All right, I'm returning the original guilty plea agreement and amended indictment to the court clerk.
November 3rd, 9 a.m.
All right, Ms. Bush, are we ready on your matter now? Let's recall your matter. I see Mr. Bunin, State versus Monia Farbs, C315762, and State versus Tamiko Simmons, C315.